Hi there. In this video, we'll be visiting the Tasmanian Transport Museum and riding Tasmania's first rail extension in a decade. The Tasmanian Transport Museum has reopened 2 kilometres of track between the main centre of Hobart's northern suburbs in Glenorchy and the waterside suburb of Berriedale. This transforms a short train trip along the line into a decently sized trip along what used to be the centre of Hobart's transport network. On the 28th of December 2025, I travelled to Glenorchy, the hub of Hobart's northern suburbs, to ride the Tasmanian Transport Museum's extension to Berriedale. Today was the first day of public operations on the rail extension, a huge landmark for transport in Hobart. The Tasmanian Transport Museum is the oldest heritage railway in Tasmania. Founded in 1962, the museum opened in 1983 close to the former site of Glenorchy Railway Station on the main line in Hobart, the capital city of Tasmania. 8 years prior, suburban passenger rail services in Hobart had ended, and just 5 years ago, all passenger rail service ended in Tasmania. However, the Transport Museum, by then in ownership of a large collection of rolling stock, still ran some excursion trains on the main line, helped by a track connection onto the now freight-only South Line from their museum. In 2004, they were barred from mainline operations, as with all heritage rail operators in Tasmania. They ran trains on the short demonstration track paralleling the main line for a short distance, and from here an iconic moment was observed when in 2014 the last freight train ran out of Hobart with the steam special hauled by C22 running alongside the last train for the short section in Glenorchy. After the freight trains were moved to a new container and intermodal hub in Brighton, the line into Hobart was abandoned. Trains haven't run here for over a decade. However, a light began to shine in 2023 when the Tasmanian Transport Museum linked their museum demonstration track back to the rail network and extended trains onto a short 1 kilometre section of track between Grove Road and Elwick Road in Glenorchy. The volunteers at the museum have been hard at work, and I'm glad to finally be able to say trains have been extended a further 2 kilometres to Berriedale Road, passing through several former stations and representing a huge leap forward for the railway. Now, enough on the history of the museum. The museum itself contains exhibits on trams, trains, buses, and fire engines in Tasmania, which you can learn more about in my earlier video on the Tasmanian Transport Museum, where we rode steam locomotive C22 on the shorter section of track through Glenorchy. Unfortunately, C22 has been withdrawn with need for an overhaul, as being 123 years old as of the production of the video does mean you need a bit of work on it from time to time. We can see her residing in a siding at the station, alongside a locomotive from the Australian newsprint mill's Styx Valley operations. Now it's finally time to head on our trip onto the main line to Berriedale. Our train starts at the relocated Newtown station, originally sited several kilometres south of here at the suburban station of the same name, but has been relocated to Glenorchy and restored. The original Glenorchy station was sited further south along the line, and a small grassy platform remains, potentially a former goods platform. Our train pulls in now, being a double-ended train comprised of 2 carriages and 2 locomotives. On one end is heavy steam locomotive M5, built in 1952 for the Tasmanian Government Railways. On the other end is Y4, an English electric diesel-electric locomotive built in 1964, also for the TGR. The 2 carriages are AAL10 and SP4, itself a former rail motor converted to use as a carriage. We board and sit in SP4 with some decent seats and altogether in marvellous condition for a train built in 1931. Our train pulls out of the station, headed to the south towards Elwick Road. Within reverse directions, made possible by a double-ended configuration necessitated by the lack of any passing loops on the line, and head towards Berriedale. By the way, this person you're seeing here is Jake. You'll be seeing a lot of them throughout this video. They run the YouTube channel Derwin Transit, where they cover transport in Hobart, Tasmania, and around Australia. Now we're out on the mainland, I'll let the footage speak for itself, and I'll rejoin you at the Berriedale end. Now we've reached Berriedale, here's a few things to note. Firstly, the three former stations along the line at Montrose, Rosetta, and Berriedale have had new signs installed with their former names and dates of opening. Unfortunately, at Berriedale, passengers cannot alight from the train, so you'll have to be satisfied with this view out of the train. Jake, what are your thoughts on Berriedale Station?
Well, I didn't expect there to be two other stations that we would go through. That was exhilarating, and it's so good to be part of such a historic moment in Tasmanian transport history.
The line continues further along here towards Claremont, Bridgewater, and eventually Launceston. Unfortunately, the connection between Granton and Bridgewater stations, crossing the River Derwent, has been severed by lack of foresight in planning the demolition of the rail bridge and installation of a large road-only bridge. Let's hope one day the bridge can be reopened for modern commuter services to the rapidly growing outer northern suburbs, as well as allowing the Transport Museum to finally reconnect with the greater Tasmanian rail network. We'll return back to Glenorchy along the same line now, watching the northern suburbs blow past as we head back to the museum. Okay, we're back at the Transport Museum now. Before we round off this video, I'd like to look at what the future can look like for the Transport Museum. Extension of service to Berriedale was part of their 2 to 3 year stage of their Hobart Heritage Rail project. In the 3 to 5 year stage of their plan, they plan to extend service to the end of their current lease at Mentmore Street, creating a section of line close to the waterfront and Mona, and doubling the length of the line. They also seek an extension of their lease along the line to Granton Station, an extension of their service to Box Hill Road in Claremont, and construction of a passing loop there. Additionally, they want to restore Granton Station and a passing loop there, add active level crossing protection along the line, and commence limited operations all the way to Granton, which would be an amazing experience along the coast near Austin's Ferry, and just the general experience of riding trains all that way in Hobart. I really hope we can get more services operating further out on the line up north, and people can see how amazing rail travel through the beautiful and scenic Tasmanian regions can be like. The final thing to touch is on the corridor heading south. This route is the dense and populated section between Glenorchy and the Hobart CBD, and its future is unknown. A report on transport on the corridor, particularly focusing on a bus rapid transit route, is slated to be released sometime in mid-January 2026, so I'll be sure to keep you updated on that when more news is released. What are your thoughts on the Tasmanian Transport Museum?
Je pense que c'est assez...
This brings me to the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching this video all the way through to the end. If you want to interact with the community of transport enthusiasts in Tasmania more, join the Tasmanian Transport Hub Discord server, where you can talk to myself and many other transport nerds from all around Tasmania on events like these, as well as regular operations, history, and more. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time on Tasmanian.
جلست هنا مصغي لصوت المطر أفكر ما الذي حصل لحالي